Most people believe something very simple about fitness. If you want to burn fat, you need more time, more hours at the gym, more cardio sessions, more running, more effort spread across longer durations. And for decades, that idea has shaped how people train. The longer you exercise, the better the results. But what if that assumption is not entirely correct? What if duration is not the most important factor? What if intensity, structure, and metabolic response matter more than time spent? And what if a 10-minute workout, under the right conditions, can outperform an hour of steady cardio? Not in theory, but in measurable physiological output. To understand this, we need to break down how the body actually burns energy, because most people misunderstand fat loss at a fundamental level. They think fat is burned only during exercise, but that is not how the human metabolism works. The body does not operate in isolated time blocks, it operates in energy systems, and those systems continue working long after exercise ends. This is where the concept of metabolic demand becomes important. When you exercise, your body consumes energy, but the type of energy system being used determines what happens afterward. Low-intensity cardio, like steady jogging or walking, primarily uses aerobic metabolism. It burns calories during the activity. But once you stop, the energy demand drops quickly. The body returns to baseline relatively fast, but high-intensity training operates differently. It pushes the body into anaerobic demand, and that creates something called excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, often referred to as EPOC. This is where things get interesting, because after intense exercise, your body does not immediately return to baseline. It continues working, repairing, restoring oxygen levels, balancing hormones, clearing metabolic byproducts. And this process requires energy, meaning you continue burning calories after the workout ends, sometimes for hours, sometimes even longer depending on intensity. So the real question is not just how many calories do you burn during exercise, but also how long does your body stay elevated afterward? Now, this is where the idea of a 10-minute workout becomes relevant, because if intensity is high enough, you can trigger a metabolic response that lasts far longer than the workout itself. But to understand why, we need to compare two training styles. First, steady-state cardio. This includes jogging, cycling at a moderate pace, treadmill walking, and similar activities. The structure is simple. Maintain a consistent pace for an extended duration. The benefit is cardiovascular endurance, and it is effective for long-duration calorie expenditure. But the intensity remains relatively stable, which means the metabolic spike is limited. Now compare that to high-intensity interval training, HIIT. This involves short bursts of maximum effort followed by brief recovery periods, sprint, rest, repeat, explosive movement, controlled recovery, repeated cycles. This structure creates metabolic stress, and metabolic stress is what triggers extended calorie burn, because the body has to recover from repeated spikes in heart rate, oxygen demand, and muscle engagement. Each spike creates a recovery debt, and that debt must be repaid after the workout ends, which is why a 10-minute HIIT session can create a disproportionately high energy demand compared to longer, lower-intensity sessions. But there is a critical detail here. Intensity is not just effort, it is relative effort, meaning how close you are working to your maximum capacity during each interval. If intensity is low, the effect decreases significantly. If intensity is high enough, the metabolic response increases exponentially. This is why two people doing the same workout can get completely different results. One person is training hard, the other is simply moving. Now let's go deeper into what actually happens inside the body during high-intensity training. When you push the body near maximum effort, several systems activate simultaneously. The cardiovascular system increases heart rate rapidly. The respiratory system increases oxygen intake. Muscle fibers switch to fast-twitch recruitment. Glycogen stores are rapidly consumed. And stress hormones like adrenaline increase to support performance output. This creates a state of controlled physiological stress, not harmful stress, but demand-based stress. And after the workout ends, the body does not simply stop, it enters recovery mode. And recovery mode requires energy. This is where the extended calorie burn occurs, because the body is repairing microdamage in muscle fibers. restoring oxygen balance, replenishing energy stores, and stabilizing internal systems back to equilibrium, all of which require caloric expenditure. This is the foundation of why short, intense workouts can outperform longer, moderate ones in metabolic efficiency. But here is something important to understand. The comparison is not simply about time, it is about efficiency per unit of time. An hour of low-intensity cardio burns calories steadily. A 10-minute high-intensity workout creates a spike followed by extended recovery burn, so the total energy output can, in some cases, exceed longer sessions, but only if intensity and structure are optimized. Now let's address a common misconception. People often assume more time automatically equals better results, but the body does not respond linearly to time, it responds to stress signals, and not all stress is equal. Low-intensity stress produces low adaptation signals. High-intensity stress produces stronger adaptation signals. This is why athletes train in intervals rather than just long, steady sessions, because adaptation is triggered by challenge, not duration alone. Now let's break down what a 10-minute high-efficiency workout actually looks like in principle. It is not random movement. It is structured stress cycles. Short bursts of high output, followed by brief recovery, repeated consistently within a short time frame. The goal is not exhaustion from time, the goal is maximum output per second of effort, because when effort density increases, metabolic response increases. But there is another factor that matters just as much. Muscle engagement. The more muscle groups activated during a workout, the higher the energy demand. Full body movements require significantly more energy than isolated movements. Because multiple systems are working simultaneously, this increases overall metabolic cost. Now combine full body activation with high-intensity intervals, and you get a compounding effect. Energy demand rises quickly, heart rate spikes repeatedly, recovery demand increases, and post-exercise calorie burn extends. This is why short workouts can feel deceptively intense, because they compress high workload into minimal time. Now let's talk about fat loss specifically. Fat loss is not only about exercise calories, it is about total daily energy balance, calories consumed versus calories expended. But exercise influences that balance in two ways, during activity and after activity. Steady cardio primarily contributes during activity. HIIT contributes during and after activity, which is why total energy expenditure over time can differ significantly even if workout duration is shorter. But there is a catch. Short, high-intensity workouts require proper execution. They are not simply quick workouts, they are structured physiological stress protocols. And if intensity is not sufficient, the effect diminishes, which is why many people try HIIT but do not see expected results, because they are not reaching true intensity thresholds. Now let's shift to sustainability. One of the advantages of shorter workouts is consistency. Time is one of the biggest barriers to exercise adherence. An hour feels long. A busy schedule makes it difficult. Fatigue builds mentally before physical effort begins, but a 10-minute session lowers resistance. It becomes easier to start. And consistency is one of the most important factors in long-term fitness outcomes, because even the most effective workout is useless if not repeated. So shorter, high-efficiency workouts often produce better long-term results simply because people actually stick to them. Now let's combine everything. Why can a 10-minute workout burn more than an hour of cardio? Because the comparison is not equal in structure. One is time-dominant, the other is intensity-dominant. One spreads energy output over time, the other concentrates energy output into a compressed window and extends metabolic response afterward. And the body responds more strongly to intensity signals than duration alone. But this does not mean one is universally better than the other. They serve different purposes. Steady cardio builds endurance and base fitness. High-intensity training builds metabolic efficiency and time-efficient calorie burn. The most effective fitness systems often combine both. But the key insight is this: time is not the primary driver of fat loss. Energy demand is, and energy demand can be manipulated through structure, intensity, muscle engagement, and recovery cycles. which means a well-designed short workout can outperform a poorly designed long workout, not because it is shorter, but because it is more metabolically demanding. So when people say this 10-minute workout burns more than 1 hour cardio, what they are really referring to is not the clock. They are referring to the system behind the workout, the way it triggers the body, the way it sustains calorie burn beyond the session, and the way it creates adaptation through intensity rather than duration. And once you understand that, fitness stops being about time spent and starts being about energy created. Because in the end, your body does not measure workouts in minutes. It measures them in stress, demand, and recovery. And when those three elements are optimized, even a short session can produce powerful results